I got my wife a birthday card.
Christmas card.
Right. Well,
Make her birthday like Christmas.
and it was for about a 5-year-old little girl. Okay? And it talks about what a wonderful thing it is to be a princess. And it had all of Disney's princesses on this card. It folded out 3 pages open, and you know, the princess this and the princess that, and you know, all the different beautiful princesses. And isn't it wonderful that you are a princess? Okay? So I had plans on taking that home and saying, 48 years, and you are still my wonderful blonde-headed princess. And I, you know, so why waste princesses on the kids, right? That kind of thing. So as I was checking out, the young lady that was checking me out said, "Oh, you must have a birthday for my granddaughter or something." I no, this is for my wife. Her birthday's tomorrow. Your wife? I said, yeah, 48 years. And she's still my princess. The lady broke down and cried. She said, and then she couldn't think of what the word was of what the connection was to her other person. Didn't even get me a card! I said, look, for 5 years, I didn't. Not Christmas presents, not birthday presents, not cards. Think about guilt. Eventually.
How did you survive for 5
I
years?
have a very good sense of humor. It's the only way I can explain it. We don't grow up knowing what we need to do to take care of people. We are selfish. We are self-centered. We are focused on our own needs. We don't look deeply into what the needs of another is. We've been through that whole program of what the deepest need. Guys, you know what the deepest needs of the ladies are? See, I was going to tell you.
Yeah, to feel secure and loved.
That's right. Absolutely reinforced and guaranteed they would rather lose big sections of their body than anything harm and danger come to them. And there it says their wife. Okay? And ladies, what's the deepest fear of the men? You gotta remember this, or you're gonna have miserable. You're gonna have miserable boyfriends. What's the deepest need of the men? Anybody that carries the XY chromosome? There's a billion of us, you know. What's your deepest fear? Come on, my go-to guy. My go-to guy.
Jesus had respect.
Respect. To have lived your life unworthy of admiration, appreciation, value, worth, honor, without being recognized as having any importance or having made any contribution. A loser, a nothing, a fool by another word, stupid by another word. Ladies, I hope you're listening. You got to put some words on your vocabulary completely into a lockbox and keep them there. Okay? Because the very first thing that happens is they'll pop out of the box and you'll use them and you'll regret it later. Okay? There's a discipline involved. So what we do, as Steve so wonderfully pointed out, is we make a list of our social contract and say, okay, now these are the things we're going to do to make sure that we're actually putting into action the truths of the loving relationship. Okay, we've done 1 and 2. We're ready to do this number 3. I love you too much to harm you. You are vulnerable, as like all of us are, to severe harm on certain issues. They include past mistakes, sensitivities, insecurities, fears, guilts. Remember, we're not supposed to be having fears and guilts? But we do. We do. I won't subject you to harm by raising these things. How many of you have a secret? How many have told anybody what your secret is? How many would be totally blown away if someone that we had told our secret threw it out in the open, in the middle of an argument?
Wait, just between the two of you, or an argument in front of people?
It could be either way.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't
I
really
mean,
matter.
yeah. But at least if you throw it out back at them, if it's just you two, it's not as bad as throwing it out in public.
It doesn't hurt any less.
True,
A
true.
number 9 earthquake in San Francisco is about the same as a 10. You're going to have total destruction no matter what. That's what's going to happen. All right? Because we expose our most vulnerable places to the people we love the most, because we trust them the most. Yes, no, amen?
No, sure.
Okay, so it takes us a long time before we actually get down to the nitty-gritty, down to the most important stuff. But part of the process of growing in intimacy is the barriers tend to come down gradually.
So should I get rid of Matthew now?
Yes.
I would write him off. I mean, he already knows too much. Okay.
Yeah,
No,
sure.
I'm kidding. But here's the thing. A lot of this stuff is things you can't change. It's just permanent stuff. It's just permanent stuff. Okay, quick story. Hope it's quick. I was marrying a 70-year-old man to a 50-plus-year-old lady. And I told them that I would gladly do their wedding if they let me put them through the premarital counseling program. And he said to me, "What can you teach me about being married? I already buried my first wife after a long extended illness and all the other. How can you teach me anything about being a husband?" I said, "Yes, you've been married, but not to her. It's going to be a whole different outfit. A whole different outfit." And so they eventually agreed to go ahead through the process, and they really enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun. And so the last evening, and as I said to you, I'll give you a values questionnaire at the end, and we'll talk about how we have different feelings and importance on different topics. But I always get my people in an argument on the last evening,
Purposefully?
intentionally.
Okay. I figured.
Because by that time, I've gotten to know them well enough that I know where the hot spots are. Okay? I know where the points of discussion are. And I touch on them and see how they respond. If they've learned the lessons, cool. If not, I make more copies of the 10 rules. Okay?
Gosh, Bob, I don't know if I trust you.
Broken trust.
Bring it.
But it's very small. It's just for one evening. So anyway, we decided that on the last evening, they invited me to come over to the house that they were preparing to move into, and we'd have our last discussion over there. Okay, cool, fine. That's great. So on the evening in question, I walked over to the house, and I knocked on the door, and nobody answered. I knocked on the door again, louder, and knocked on the door louder, and finally she came to the door. Mascara running off the bottom of her chin. "Oh, no, it's all off. You can go home. We're not doing this. We've canceled the wedding. There's no more thing. We said awful things to each other. We got into a terrible fight." And she went all through the whole process. And she said, "I never, ever, ever expected, nor will I ever forget what you did when you just clapped your hands and said, 'Oh, right, this is perfect. Let's get started.'" And you walked into the house and down into the family room, and there he sat. He was sitting in his easy chair and leaning this way, but his head was down between his legs. He was just, this was a guy that was sorrowful. So we sit down and say, "Okay, now let's tell me, how did we do?" I said, "You remember we said there's a whole lot of things we're going to put in the lockbox we're going to keep off to the side." The lady he was marrying had never been married, but had 4 children she raised that were born to her. Can you imagine anything that might have been put in the lockbox?
Sure.
Couple things.
Okay. I don't have to explain it further. We all know.
At least 4 things.
At least there was some supposition that one or maybe two of the children might have belonged to him. Any idea what else might be in the lockbox?
Wait, you said that one or two of the children might belong to the person she was marrying?
While he was married.
Ooh.
Oh! That's why they get married now.
Okay, so I didn't go into specifics. We know what the situation is. We know what, they've been friends forever. I mean, this is a maturing relationship. Now they want to get married. And what's the rule that I use? I don't care what your past is. I will always help you to learn how to love better. You give me a chance to help you learn to love better, and I will do whatever I can to help you. That's the rule. So I'm sitting there and I said, okay, let's just see here for a second. We had put some things out of bounds. And I turned to his side and I said, did you remember that you were never going to say da-da, 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 da-da? Now his head was almost down on the floor. And quietly under his breath, I can hear him say, it was the first words out of my mouth. We were having a fight, and it was the first thing I said.
Ouch.
And I turned to her and I said, and you remember we said we were never, ever, ever going to use this phrase, da-da, 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 da-da. She was standing up serving a little kitchenette off to the side, and I couldn't even see her face. It was exactly what I said as soon as he said the first thing. Okay, now you know why the rule is there. Now don't ever do that again. I said, thanks for that. All right? But there are certain things you have to be aware. You can't go back and change them. You can't make it disappear. But you can keep it from doing damage from now on to the end of time. I wish I could make my children, my grandchildren, my brothers, my sisters, my nieces and nephews live lives that were completely free of fear and guilt. The first page, remember, it's the first page we open up, without fear, without guilt. But I can't. So the best I can do is to teach people how to be careful and not harm somebody. Okay? And the first thing is you're going to realize in your social contract, we're never going to talk about this again. The concept is that it's put into a room, the door's locked, the key is thrown away. Okay? So that's one of the things. And then number 4, I love you too much to open you to public ridicule. Now this is difficult. You can go ahead and read the rest of it, but I got to shorten it up or I won't be done in time. My normal situation.
Continue next week too.
Oh, we'll just keep doing it until we get it right. Everybody loves to get the upper hand. It's sort of our goal to win the argument or try and get someone twisted to do what we'd like them to do. If we get them in public, we can embarrass them and maybe they will change their behavior. Have you ever been in a conversation with people who are boyfriend-girlfriend kind of relationship, and one will tell the strangest, awfulest stories of what they do, and they pick their nose, and and you can tell about all the things that people are doing because they're so irritating or they're so aggravating, and they have to sit there in public. They can't fight back. Now, even if they didn't hear, let's say sometimes the ladies, not pointing fingers, will go into one area of the place where you're meeting, wherever, house or church or whatever, and the men and boys will gather in another, and they'll talk about how strange their partners are. It's really weird. I mean, 20 minutes just getting the lipstick on right. How could it take that long to just do the lipstick thing? I mean, it just, like watching paint dry. Something like paint drying.
Grass grows.
Well, how could it, why does it take so? And so we actually talk about our frustrations in public. Now, if someone says, as soon as this conversation gets back and we get into the group, and turns to the lady that has been talked about and said, you should have spent another 20 minutes. You didn't turn out so good. You've been talking about me to those turkeys? We all need people to talk to. We all need people to share with. But you have to gauge them so carefully as to whether or not they merit our trust. You can trust them. It's okay.
Well, we give you permission, so.
It's okay. You have to be very careful. And then you have to be careful what you share. Now, there are some people who are manipulative that says, I don't want you sharing anything. You can't, not your mom, not your sister, not your brother, no, you can't share with anybody. It's a way of keeping people isolated. It's controlling. It's a manipulation. It's emotional abuse is what it is. And so that isn't right either, but you've got to have self-discipline about how we do this. Because ridicule, especially, I mean, how many people have, just in the last, we know, hurt themselves because of public bullying on the internet? That's what we're talking about, this kind of stuff. Making stuff public that makes people feel worthless and afraid and guilty. And we can do it to the ones we love the most. And we do it all the time. Don't even think about it. And then all of a sudden it causes problems. When we get home, payment becomes due on it. I'm going to get even. All right.
It's still worked on.
You have any questions about those two? You understand what we're talking about? Okay, I'll keep you that. Number 5, interesting one. I love you enough to set a time to talk. Do not strike when your partner is unprepared. You must give your partner a chance to get ready, cool, calm, and collected. Don't continue if you're caught off guard or distracted. Both persons should feel rested. Not too late at night, it says here on my copy, because I'm a morning person. If it goes past 9 o'clock, I can't think straight. So if it's an argument in the evening, I go, end of discussion, can't handle it. Wide awake, not early in the morning. Judy is a night person and not a morning person, so we have to talk about things in the middle of the day. It's the only place we overlap. And we're feeling comfortable and happy, usually after a great meal. So we have to talk about the budget. We do not have enough money to make the payments we have to make this week, but we have to sit down and figure out how to do this. You don't argue about that kind of stuff on the car on the way to work just because you happen to be in the car together. That's called argument by accident. You know when a lot of the most destructive arguments happen? When you get in the car on the way to church on Sunday morning. Think about that as a worship leader. All right? Why? Because you've been busy all week. You've been doing your thing, you're shopping, taking care of this, you had this, you had that, I got all these responsibilities. All of a sudden, we're in the car. There's nobody else here. We got 20 minutes. By the way, the end of the world is coming. And I'm going to lay this on you right now. Are you ready? No, I'm not ready. I didn't know this was happening. What are we talking about? I can't even respond. I don't know how to. You have to be at a time you can have enough time set aside to sort out the questions and the answers. You have to have a time to talk. What is the greatest weapon of war that we have? It doesn't shoot bullets, and it doesn't shoot missiles. What's the greatest weapon of war we have?
Tongue. The tongue.
The sun.
The tongue.
The tongue. Well, I'm going to say it differently. I'm a statist or a strategy or you're a guy for military, the element of surprise. If you want to get somebody, you don't have to have the greatest weapons in the world. All you have to do is catch them off guard. If you want to win an argument, catch your partner off guard. They have no time to think, especially some of us who are a little slow on our feet. All right? It isn't fair, it isn't nice, it isn't loving, but you can win some arguments. At least it looks like that at the beginning. They usually have a chance to think about it and come back, and you never really solve it because striking while your partner's not ready is not nice. Usually you'd end up paying for that. Okay, set a time to talk, and it's when everybody is cool and calm. If anybody calls a halt, the whole argument stops. Are you ready for that? That's a tough one because I can't deal with this right now. I've got the stomach flu. I'm in the process of running back and forth to the bathroom to empty my stomach into the toilet. Don't talk to me about what.
So do I hire a ref and have him call timeout?
This is the referee. You violated number 5. You didn't set a time to talk. When we're calm, cool, and collected. All right? And you have to be able to function. All right, number 6. Big one here. I love you enough to stick to the subject. How do we, the second most important weapon we use in war is distraction. So if you want someone to surrender to you, you have a diversionary attack so that your main attack can come in from a different direction. Sticking to the subject is a way of fixing things that need to be dealt with. Bringing up other subjects just gets everything all confused. All right? Let's go through the little dialogue I've got here. This is 30 years old almost, but it works today. He says, "You left the wheelbarrow out in the rain, and of course the wheel is rusted now. Why can't you ever learn to put things away when you're done with them?" 30 years, and people still say, "Why does she have the wheelbarrow out? Shouldn't he be doing that?" That isn't the point. Stay with me for a second, all right? So, what does he do? What does she do? She says, "Look who's talking. I pick up your dirty underwear and pajamas every morning of the week." Well, what does that have to do with a wheelbarrow? I thought we were doing wheelbarrow things. Now we're talking about PJs?
She makes a rather good point,
What was that?
though. She makes a rather good point, though.
Let's talk about that for a second, because she actually lost the argument when she made that comment.
Alright.
She lost the argument. He will not pick up his underwear and PJs. You know why? Because she didn't take the first step in responding to the wheelbarrow. Let's just read it again, but we'll make up our own dialogue now. "You left the wheelbarrow out in the rain. And of course, now the wheel is rusted. Why can't you ever learn to put things away when you're done with them?" First of all, why can't you ever put things away is a put down. It's an attack on character. It was wrong. It violates the number 1 rule. I love you and I'm not going to embarrass you, I'm going to humiliate you is number 2, and it's an assassination attempt on her character. Okay, so that was wrong.
You can add to the end of it, "This is why we can have nice things."
That's right. Been down that road. Okay. So what is the appropriate response for the she character? How should we do this better? You've let the wheelbarrow out in the rain, and now the wheel is rusted. That is the core of the issue. What does she say?
Sorry?
Perfect! I have a new go-to.
I'm mad.
I'm sorry. What does sorry mean?
That you feel bad and you won't do it again.
Oh, no.
That's what I tell my students.
We're breaking it into 2 pieces. I want to keep it separated if I can. Because an apology is 3 parts. An apology is 3 parts, and you have to make sure you touch on all 3. I'm sorry. I regret my mistake. I regret my actions. I feel bad, and I want you to know that what you bring up is important to me, okay? The second part, and Jobette's already said it, the second part is just as important as the first. I have every intention of never doing that again. I won't do it again. You said that is the second part. That's the second part. My intention is to change my behavior so that I am more aware of what your needs are, and I want to do it better next time. All right? What's the third part?
Kiss.
All right, we'll get there eventually, but we got to go through the third part first. What was it?
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness, that comes just before the kiss. We haven't gotten there yet.
About the same time as the flowers.
Acceptance?
How can I make it right with you? The 3 parts of an apology
Like restitution.
are I am sorry, I realize now what my actions did and how it impacted negatively on you. My next one is my intention is to do it better next time. I will put that in my book and remember. And the third one is how can I make it right? Let's go to the hardware store and let's get you a new wheel and let's see if we can get it painted and see if we can get it back up. And what's he going to say? After she's gone through the 3 parts of the apology, what is she going to say?
No, don't worry about it.
I can now put some WD-40 on it, it'll be fine. Okay, I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to scold you, and I'm sorry I put you down. Okay, so we're all good. Now we got the kiss, we got the flowers, we got the whole thing that's coming. Doing great, except, oh, wait a minute, we're not quite there yet. Oh, by the way, dear, sweetheart, we need to talk about another thing. There's another issue. I'm picking up your socks and pajamas every morning of the week. And I can't do it anymore. You're gonna have to help me. What does he have to do? What does he have to say?
Sorry.
Yes, honey, I will.
Okay, first he's got it right. I'm sorry. What's the first part of the apology? I didn't realize the impact of my actions or my words or whatever had on you and negatively impact on you. Okay? What's the next part?
I would just laugh at that statement though. Be like, how did you not notice that? I'm picking up your underwear every morning. Do it yourself. Like,
It's a different issue. We're going to get to that later.
clean up after
My
yourself.
intention is to be more aware of how careless I have been. And third of all, what do I have to do to make it right for you? Want me to do the laundry for the next month? That way I'll be doing the picking up. How do I have to, what do I have to do to make sure that you are aware I want to make
Then
it
they
right?
fold it wrong.
Okay? As long as it's getting done, don't argue about the folding. There are things that jump in. Just be glad they're doing it. Okay, so anyway, when we feel threatened, which I am right now, and we have a fault, we try to shift the blame to some other subject that we feel better about that puts the blame and the guilt on the other person. That doesn't solve anything. It just makes it work. I have been in so many arguments. It has to do a lot with religion, it has a lot to do with politics, and it goes round and round and round and round, and nothing ever gets solved. Nothing ever gets fixed because we get defensive and we have this whole talking list and we just, you could take one and focus on it and solve every issue. Be absolutely nailed down tight. But if you don't want to stick to the subject, you can make a mess of a conversation in a hurry. Just keep changing the subject all the time. Arguing on a different point all the way around. Okay, nothing gets us accomplished. But in the second scenario, we fixed 2 problems and still didn't have an argument. Really cool. Okay. Any questions? I'm sorry is the toughest thing in the world to say. It really is. And then to say, how do I make it right with you? Boy, that cuts to the quick. I don't want to change my life that much. I mean, that's heavy stuff. Anyway, okay, it's now in the 10 rules you have to deal with. Okay, 7, I love you enough to really listen to your words. We have a game that we play. It's called I Bet You Can't Repeat What I Just Said. Okay. Why is that a game that I lose so frequently?
Not listening.
I'm hearing with my brain and not with my ears. All right? I hear things that were never said out loud, that were implied or implicit in by either tone or by what I was hearing or something. And I respond, and Judy is an expert at this game. She loves this game. Can you tell me what I just said? Well, it was something about the line of, no, that isn't what I said at all. Really listening to a person's words is one of the most loving things that you can do. It means you're putting everything else off to the side and your focus of attention, and you're just listening. You're paying full attention to that person. And then the next question, I'm going to put them together because they actually go hand in hand. Number 8, I love you enough to actively question and search for what you need. I had a boss one time that told me, you will never get the correct answer from anyone unless you ask the question 3 times. Now, why is that true? Okay, I'm in charge of production. We've got a cabinet shop, and I've sent a whole crew out to install a whole bunch of our furniture in a man's house, and they come back at the end of the day, and I say, how did things go? Wrong question in the first place, but that's all right. And they always say the same thing. Oh, it went fine. No, it didn't go fine. I can bet money it didn't go fine. Why did they say fine? Because the question didn't have importance. Why go into detail with a very generic, off-the-shelf question? My grandkids come home from school. I never say, how was your day? It's a dumb question. They don't have to think about that. Oh, fine. If I ask the question and say, who was your favorite teacher today? Now you have to think about that. I like this teacher, but we didn't have fun in that class today. What was the worst thing that took place on the playground today? Then you have to think about that. And you'll get more information. Okay, now go back to our install crew. We'll find, did you get it finished? Second question. No, we didn't get it quite finished. We have to go back tomorrow and we have to do a little punch list. Well, see, now it didn't go fine or it would have been finished. Okay, now I ask the question the third time. A little different. Was he happy with what we did? Well, he did have a couple of issues that he wanted to talk to you about. You'll probably get a telephone call. Was it fine or was it terrible? It was terrible! But they said it was fine. How can it both be fine and terrible at the same time?
I've asked myself that for years.
You have to ask the same questions over and over and over to try and get to the core, because we tend to just gloss over what's going on inside of us. And we do it in our marriages and our families and our work and all kinds of things. The first thing we say is, oh, good morning, how was your day? Oh, you're never going to get the truth. You're wasting your breath. If you actually want something truthful, don't ask the dumb question, or don't ask the standard question. I never respond twice the same way when someone asks, how's your day going? Well, I'm doing 57%. Because I always want to go, where'd you go for that? Because I want to have more conversation. I don't want to just close it off with a quick, easy answer. I want them to think about it too. I want to always think about how to engage with people. Okay, now if you're in a relationship and your employer or your boss or whatever else, always ask the probing questions again and again and again. How can I make you happy? Is there something I need to do to satisfy your needs? Is there some way I can take care of you that I have not thought about? Keep digging. You will not get to the heart of the issue until you have asked at least 5 or 6 times, what is the problem and how do we get to that? It's a part of paying attention, putting your focus directly on that situation, on that person, on that need, and searching for what can be done. I have made a very, very, very good living asking one question. And it didn't come from who failed and messed this thing up and caused the problem. The question always is, what can we do that is positive with what we have left? I don't care who the cause was. I don't care what the situation was. I don't care how bad it was. I don't care to hear any of it. Tell me what kind of things we can do with what we have left, either for time, resources, whatever it is, that we can do something positive with what's left. And then you keep asking the question, because if you'll never ask the second, third, fourth, fifth question, you will never get to the heart of the matter. Now, let's say you're talking about something. People always come into the office, they'll have something they want to talk about. Oh, we're having financial problems. We gotta work through our budget. Okay. What budget is the issue? Right down at the top of the page, money. Now, what else is going on? You didn't talk about money. Why aren't you talking about money? Why aren't you helping us with our finances? Tell me what else is happening within your life. Tell me what's happening at home. Huh? What's working, what isn't, how you... Because I'll be honest with you. Money is not the issue. It never is. The first thing that comes out is not the issue. It's the easiest thing to talk about. So we'll talk about that because it's safe. But the fact that every time she spends a nickel, he complains a dime's worth. You understand what I just said? They have a difference in the way they have viewed the use and the spending of money. And now all of a sudden we're not talking about money, we're talking about attitudes about who is responsible and who's not in taking care of finances. And so I will tell you this as honestly and as quickly as I possibly can. Never, ever, ever listen when someone says, this is my problem. Always ask 6 or 7 more questions. What's at the heart of this thing? Because ultimately, you will never get down there if you don't sincerely care enough to keep probing. Do you have any questions about that? That's a hard one. Tough one. Okay, we're going to go run through the next 2. I love you enough to forgive and forget all wrongs. How many are really good at forgiving and forgetting?
Liar.
It's a bad thing.
Hmm?
It's a bad thing to have.
No, it isn't. I just said you have to do it. It is a loving thing to do. It is a God thing to do. But most people want to hold on to the hurt. And they want to make a list of the failures so they can use it in negotiations in the future. I have this shopping list of all the times you said you cared and then you didn't. I can show you all of your failures and all of the times you broke your word and how you. Now, were those forgiven? Maybe at the time I said, I forgive you. Were they forgotten? I can't use them against you if I had forgiven them. We love to win arguments. We love to win arguments more than we love loving people. We love manipulating the situation more. Sorry, I'm having way too much fun. I don't know where your hands were. I'm not even going to ask. But the point was,
She drew on me.
And cheer on his name.
The point was, we did. I'm sorry, I just watched the pattern. As soon as I started talking about using things against people, I saw him reach over and grab a hold of his hand. I mean, come on. I'm not.
Hey, his word used number 9.
Am I at the store
Let's go back to
there?
number 9. I forget. Forgiving is, it's a knee-jerk reaction my brain does. I'm not responsible. All right. Forgiving and forgetting is something that has to be intentional. It doesn't feel good to forgive someone who's really let us down. It doesn't feel good because we're so afraid it's going to happen again. And we have to hold on to some level of control. Forgiving means letting that person off the hook. You ever heard that expression before? Off the hook?
So should I let the guy that I physically have a grudge off the little hook I have on him?
Forgive.
Alright,
Forgive.
might want to call it this.
And I'll be honest with you, that's the fear that all of us share. What bad things are going to happen if I put my defenses down? All right? Honestly, look at me just for a second, Justin, and listen to me carefully, because I don't want you getting hurt. All right? But listen to what I'm saying carefully, if you will. If you do the right thing and say, I'm still going to take care of you regardless, all right? And they decide to become destructive or hurtful, even saying bad things, it reveals their character where you have just revealed yours. Honestly, there is no way of knowing what is inside the heart of another person until they show us in response to what we do. Now, if we respond by, my son-in-law has this thing he calls getting bowed up. It means, you get ready for a fight. You pull your shoulders forward, you dance up on your toes, you're getting ready to go, all right? What's the first response somebody's going to have? They're going to get bowed up too. There's something bad going to happen here. If you come and say, my Bible says a soft word turns away wrath. So I'm going to say, I'm sorry. And I'm just going to still take care of you. What's the response going to be? Well, if it isn't soft, their character, there's something going on inside of them, is really, really bad, and it's causing a lot of problems that you did not cause. And you have to remember who owns the problem. You always have to remember who owns the problem. Everybody is guilty to some level. When you go into a civil court, they try to determine what your percentage of responsibility is for a particular accident. You rear-end a car. Well, the streets were wet, and there was traffic, and I couldn't see until it was right here, and what's the level of my responsibility? In life, we always have some level of responsibility in it. If we don't say we're sorry, we don't take responsibility for whatever portion that is of ours. If we don't forgive them, they will not feel safe enough to take responsibility for their portion of it, and they will try and put everything on us. But that's not true either. And so you have to realize, Scripture is very clear about this. We have a responsibility. And it doesn't, you don't win every argument that way. Sometimes it can be quite a painful thing. But the point is, you are revealing who you are while you give them a chance to reveal who they are. And if they don't have everything together, the most we can feel is sorrow that they're still working out of that fear and guilt thing. And we know how to pray for them. All right? Do you understand forgiving and forgetting? Sometimes it just has to be an absolute act of will. I am never going to bring this up again. It's the most painful thing that's ever happened to me, and I make you a promise, I will never, ever bring it up again. And if it comes back to my mind, I will forgive again and again and again and again until it's forgiven and real. Okay? I'm gonna push on to the last, and then please forgive me for running over a few minutes. I love you enough to stop, and that should be very appropriate for our lesson for this evening. We all have levels of endurance. We all have levels of what we can accept or how much we can take. And ultimately, we have to promise people that we care about that we will be responsible enough to actually say, I hear you, I see that we've gone as far as we can go. This is okay until the next time we talk. Very, very few arguments are settled in one evening or in one day. They usually last over weeks and months. Judy and I had one argument that went over a year. When I was called into seminary, we had a beautiful new home, 2 little kids, nice home out in the country, a garden, strawberries, raspberry bushes, beautiful little home. We sold our home and moved to Findlay, Ohio, and we lived in the dump for 3 years. Trying to make your wife feel like she's important and loved when you're living in a house that is just awful. And the only reason you can stay there is the only thing you can afford. And she wasn't happy, as well she shouldn't be. And there wasn't anything I can do, and I was trapped into it just as bad as she was. That's where we were, and we had to fight our way through a very long, extended dynamic. And there were many times we had to say, we've gone as far tonight as we can go. And what's the last words on the page? Take a quick glance at the bottom. In the meantime, let there be peace. Put it down. Walk away from it. Don't drag it up every time you get a little agitated. Be at peace